Pat, what's up, brother? How are you, sir?
What's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm just genuinely excited. We're going to get into why that is, and as I told you, I do an online podcast. It's an online television show and a podcast on iTunes, and all of those I do everything I possibly can to have like live interviews. It's just a different experience. But I could not wait to interview you, and I wanted to do a short interview. Um, just because I'm so excited about your work specifically, and it goes so well with the rebrand and relaunch of my coaching company right now, and just couldn't wait. So we will do another like longer interview and get more of your story and yeah, more of the pieces. So looking forward to that at some point, and also just really grateful and excited to drop in with you right now. So if you're ready.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's do it. My pleasure, man. So, just a little intro. Pat Solomon is a filmmaker, and he created an amazing documentary that you may or may not have heard of called Finding Joe, which is about Joseph Campbell and about really this kind of interesting finding that Joseph Campbell had that is titled, that he calls The Hero's Journey. And interestingly enough, I had no idea. I had an idea about Joseph Campbell and his work, because through certain personal development work that I've done and storytelling training that I've done, it comes up. But I didn't really know any backstory or the depth of it at all. I had never seen it play out so beautifully on the screen as you do in your documentary. And as I was rebranding my company, a good friend of mine, Giovanni, who runs the Archangel Academy, a mastermind that I'm a part of, suggested, "Hey, everyone, this is the theme. This is how badass this movie is, of what you created. This is the theme of our year-long mastermind and the event that we're going to be having, which is the hero's journey. Please watch this movie before you come." So I'm like, "Wow, that's interesting." Okay, so I watched the movie. The timing couldn't have been more perfect for what I was now beginning to create and what I've recently discovered about my own personal journey and my own hero's journey, and then to watch the movie and feel this like deep connection, all these amazing ahas in terms of what I've been doing with my work and with my clients. Couldn't have been more excited about this like new discovery for myself, right? This movie that I could share with people and watch over and over. Then I go to the event at Archangel, and you're on stage being interviewed, telling the story of it, which I thought was really interesting because your own story of making the movie and kind of what's happened since and where you're going next has its own kind of hero's arc in it.
Yeah.
Right? So first, that was just my little intro I wanted to share with you folks to help you understand. And I would love for you, if you could, just share with us like what inspired you to make this movie and a little bit of background first.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'd been a Joseph Campbell fan my whole life, and really what attracted me to his work was the idea that stories, no matter if they're on the screen or if you read them in a book, stories are what connects us, and stories look the way they do because human lives unfold in the same way. Mm. And so, it was amazing to me to go to look at movies and stories in a different way, and not just for analytical reasons, but for reasons of living life. Like, oh my God, I relate to that story because it unfolds the way my life is unfolding. There's challenges and there's disasters and there's obstacles to overcome, and that's that I think that was Campbell's brilliance, is that he really connected those two dots. Stories look the way they do because humans are the way they are.
So this universality that is existing between all of us.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It really connects you as a human being. It really makes you, if you can look at your own story and really relate, but you can also look at another culture's story or even another time period story, thousands of years ago, and it still resonates. And that's what connects you. It kind of connects you, not to sound hokey, but it connects you in a universal way.
Right. Yeah, to me, not hokey at all. I think that's beautiful because we have a tendency to isolate ourselves in certain ways and say like, no one knows what I'm going through.
Exactly.
And and it's never to take away from anyone's unique experience. That's the beauty of you and your unique experience. But it's to say that underneath all of that, we really are all the same. And there's something that connects us all. So you're not so unique that you're alone on all of this. And that's
That's exactly right.
really
You're not alone. You're connected
right.
in a universal way through story.
So what was the process like for you creating this? And you were you're a filmmaker before this, or was this your first project?
Yeah, this was my first project of this size. You know, and
Okay.
I had done. I'm a commercial filmmaker. I mean, I make commercials for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, I did a lot of long form sports stuff, snowboard videos and stuff like that.
Ah, cool.
This was the first project I'd done that was, you know, of this scope. You know, it was big, it was long. It took me 2.5 years, which was insane because I'm used to doing a job in like less than a month.
Right.
So yeah, it was a big undertaking.
Mm. How did the actual journey and creation of this project like connect you more to your own individual story?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I started this process, you know, it kind of was born out of a crisis. You know, both of my parents died really close to each other, 3 weeks apart. And at that time I was having like a horrible midlife crisis, like the classic American midlife crisis. And I was really lost, you know, and when my parents went, it really set me into a bit of an emotional spiral. And so all I could think about was Campbell's work and the hero's journey and what obstacles, you know, lay before me and some really big obstacles. And I always thought about making this movie about Campbell's work. I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know, was it going to be a biography? I had no idea. But in the back of my mind as a filmmaker and as a Campbell fan, I always said, wow, I could bring something like this. I could bring some of his message to life.
Sure.
So in that crisis, I went, for whatever reason, now is the time to do this. Like now's the time to start this journey. And so I just kind of took one step and I did a lot of research in a couple months. And then I just started calling people and putting feelers out and making it known that I was interested in doing this film. And man, the universe just answered back in massive ways. People just started showing up at the doorstep. Joseph Campbell movie, I'm there. What do you want?
Wow.
Yeah, it was really amazing.
That's killer. That's so. I mean, some of the things that I'm hearing, you know, I look for these like kind of patterns and signs as a coach is that, you know, when you were in a place of kind of deep despair, and what you did was you kind of took your passion and purpose and used it to direct that energy and that emotion that you were feeling.
I would say that's a very good way to put that, because at the time I wouldn't have said that, you know, but in retrospect, there was definitely something inside me that went, there's the only bit of joy that you have is filmmaking and Joseph Campbell, and you should put those together and that might make you happy.
Awesome. So it became a part of your healing process. And again, maybe not something you were alert of at the time, but
exactly. It was exactly that. I think there was a lot of things that I was unconscious of at the time, but now in retrospect, I go, oh, right. That's why I did that. Duh.
Yeah. So that's the beautiful thing about hindsight. I have this keynote talk that I give. It's called "Your Challenges Are Your Greatest Gifts," right? And the beautiful thing is we get to look back in our life as our own documentarians and see why things occurred. And I always make the joke from stage. It's like, you know, hindsight is, and the crowd yells out 2020, and then I pause and I said, "Did anyone ever tell you how long hindsight's supposed to take?" And it's just silence. No one has an answer. And that's the beauty of it, is that what I'm now recognizing is if we're conscious of these things and we do them with a little bit more intention, then we can have that hindsight and awareness almost in the moment. Like a second passes and like, oh, I get it now. You know what I mean? And but it's beautiful to be able to look past that, look back at our own stories and journeys and see the hero journey in and see the reasons why it happened the way it did. It's like, oh, it's got to be very confirming for you, and really,
it was very confirming for me. There was definitely moments too where I knew I was making a movie about the hero's journey, and then I went, well, if I should probably live this journey. So I just, there was a lot of faith that happened, like in my interview process, I intentionally didn't set a bunch of goals about who to interview. I just trusted that the journey would bring me to the right people.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened.
And you in this movie, again, I just can't recommend more highly that you folks watch it. And we're going to actually give you an opportunity to watch this movie in a very special, unique gift. And thank you, Pat, for offering that. But in this movie, when I was watching, I'm like, wow, you've got some serious, talent in there as far as like speakers and entrepreneurs and really incredible people, actors, and one of the greatest skaters of all time. And it's like, that. How did that happen?
That was the thing, is that, I mean, of course I had a hit list of people I wanted, but I never really, I didn't look at it too much. And I always thought to myself, it'd be great to have these people. But for instance, my first interview was with Brian Johnson, who was in Bali at the time. His website said Topanga. So it was a little bit of I was like, oh, great, he's just up the street. Oh, right. Wait, in Bali. So I just went, for some reason, I'll fly to Bali and do the interview, and then we'll keep a bunch of stuff over there. And then and I didn't know anything about Robin Sharma, but he said, you should talk to my friend Robin Sharma, who was in Toronto. And so I hooked up with him, who said, oh, you should hook up with my friend Deepak Chopra. And I was like, oh, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, totally. Who's that? Yeah, so
never heard of him. So yeah, it was it never ceased to amaze me how things like that would happen. That every day would bring some other synchronicity, and that's really what to me, in the moment anyway, a confirming sign that, hey, I'm on the right path here. There's amazing things happening all the time. I must be on the right path.
Beautiful. So talk to me a little bit about, like, before initiating this and all these beautiful things unfolded, did you have any hesitation or reservation? Like, what was going on just before you initiated all this? And then I've got another backup question.
Yeah, the quick answer is, yeah, there was, the initial step was really difficult, because it's great to think about it and put it on paper, but once you commit, and in my case, it was a financial commitment, because I had to stop doing commercials, which was, a source of income for us.
Right. Totally.
And I financed it myself. Like I paid for it, and, did the whole thing, let's take a mortgage out. And, so it was really brutal to go. It was almost one of those things like ripping a Band-Aid off. When you do it, you kind of close your eyes and you go, shit, am I really doing this? Like, I'm just going to do it and I'll forget about it.
Totally.
So yeah, it was definitely a stepping off moment where that wasn't fun.
Mm-hmm. And so, it's the classic leap and the net appears, right? And so you did this initial leap. You had to go all in, because you mortgaged, you took a second mortgage on your home. That's a big deal. And one thing that's been coming up a lot for a lot of my clients is this idea, not only one of leap and the net appears. So I'd love for you to explain more about how that unfolded. But then also, two, this initial, like, diving in 100%, burning the bridges, burning the ships. Could you, it might sound like a silly question, but could you have done it any other way?
And I think for this particular project, there's no way I could have done it any other way. It wasn't possible. There's no way I could have said, well, I'll still keep shooting commercials, and then I'd be booked on a commercial. Meanwhile, some interview goes by the wayside, which would actually lead me to more interviews. It's like being in two worlds, like I'm either in the forest on my adventure, or I'm not. But you can't, like, go into the forest every once in a while. Hey, I'm here now. Oh wait, can you just hold that thought moment?
all the woodland creatures just pause for you to come back later.
I know you guys are about to give me some great stuff, but I'll be right back. Right. Clearly doesn't work that way. So and I'm sure that there are projects that you could do that on, maybe, but man, this one was just, there's no possible way.
Beautiful. So you go all in. What was happening around you? What about, like, you've got a family, yeah? You've got, like, a wife.
Yeah, that was really, really stressful times. Really stressful times. Like, I just put my whole family in financial jeopardy
Mm.
to go off and make this movie. And I wasn't home a lot, and it was really stressful at home. And, my wife is just an amazing person for dealing with it and seeing that, okay, he's got a vision. I'm just going to trust him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, congrats to her and for having that lovely connection and trust with you, and to you for having that. And I think that's important. What you're sharing right now comes up again a lot with my coaching clients, is that sometimes the most meaningful thing that we can do is the most illogical thing that we could do.
Yes.
To most people outside, it's like, wait, what are you thinking about doing?
What are you doing? Yeah.
But there was just a knowing in you. I mean, maybe.
No, I knew it. And like I said, I was so emotionally devastated from the loss of my parents that I wasn't really thinking rationally. Thank God. I think also that the great thing about crisis is that it takes rationality out of the equation. It's if you're in a crisis, you're in that deep of despair. You're slightly desperate, and you'll really look at anything that will get you out, no matter what it is. No matter how crazy it is. It is one beauty about crises.
Yeah, it's a huge statement. Huge statement. It's almost like this attitude is like, something has to be better than this, or I've got nothing to lose, or
exactly.
Yeah.
All those things and all those emotions help open the door, which is and I'm not thinking about it until now while we're talking about it, and I'm going, oh yeah, there was definitely some of that happening, like when I made that decision.
Right. And so more on the leap and the net appeared, as it clearly did. The movie got made. It's a fantastic movie, and the interviews just kind of showed up. And as those nets were appearing and things like this, seemed like everything was kind of unfolding. I'm sure there's genuine excitement around that. Was there also another time during the process where you're like, this may not happen, or some challenge that came along?
Yeah, the big challenge that I always talk about, and that was to me the pinnacle crisis moment, was that I had been a year into the project and spent lots and lots. I spent like thousands and thousands of dollars and cut together a piece, and it was like 5 hours long, and it was an absolute piece of crap. Like it was unwatchable, awesome. Man. I mean, really, that's awesome. Like, what the hell have we done? Like,
right.
I just blew all this time and money, and I blew my career, and like, what have I done? That was one of those classic moments where I was like, oh my God, I just totally screwed the pooch. This is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a pretty big moment of despair there.
Wow.
Yeah. But then out of that, the kids came along. If you haven't seen the movie, I use a lot of kids to act out a story, finding the Grail story, underneath the interviews. So, but I always knew I was going to use kids in some form to do, like, I knew someone would tell a story, and then I would go shoot that story with the kids, and that would be a part of it. And so I wound up doing that because I had nothing else to do. Like, I didn't know where else to go. Mm-hmm. So a couple people told stories. I went out and shot the kids, and we cut that back together. And when we got that back, that little edit, it was freaking magic. It was like a lightning bolt. Mm-hmm. It was like a lightning bolt just went off. Like, oh my God, we're going to do the whole movie like this from beginning to end. We're going to do one story, not a bunch of stories, and it's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. And from that moment on, it was like a race to the race to the finish line, which was still another year and a half away. But at least we knew we had a purpose.
Right. Love that. You had a purpose. So that ties in so perfectly to all of this.
Is that because prior to that moment, once we got the edit back, all my ideas were spent. Like, we did it. My ideas are out there. I got no more ideas, and the thing sucks. And so now what? Like, what are you going to do? Like, there's no purpose. Like, you can't go out and shoot if I don't have any ideas.
Right. So that's killer because it ties into, the rebrand and relaunch of my company, which is it's going from this passion warrior, which is something I felt really connected to for 2.5 years, something that it was clear at the time. There's this thing that I recognize now in my life and for many people is like, you really just have to honor what's right now
Right.
versus spinning in your head of how it could be better and perfect in it and seeing this vision out in the future that you may not be able to get to right now. And so therefore you stay stagnant instead of just taking action on what's right now.
Yeah.
So for me, I ran with Passion Warrior and there was a lot of meaning and depth in what that meant, and why I chose that. But then when I was making this transition, this thing came out of the coach that I'm working with of ignite purpose, like really have people come alive and recognize that there may not be any one specific thing. I don't subscribe to the idea that there's one thing you're here to do. You may not recognize what your actual purpose until you're on your deathbed and you're speaking a story to your grandchildren, and all of a sudden it all just becomes clear of what it was all meant to you. That might be the purpose. Pass that message on to your child. There might be, but along the way there's a purpose for your existing, for your waking up in the morning, something that you can connect to that will always drive you and give your sense a life of fulfillment and meaning and depth, and so having people connect to that and not do things because they have to, and not forget that they do have a purpose, and that they can be excited and fulfilled and really have an amazing journey.
Yeah.
Like to have people live like that all the time is what I'm so is connected to, whether it's through my podcast or through my coaching. And then of course there's more to it. There's mindset and stuff, but that's why I love this, because you discovered a deeper purpose, you discovered clarity, you did it all on the journey.
Yeah.
And it just ties in perfectly to what you created, which is this fantastic movie. So love it. And so the last thing I want to share, this is something that I think it's also important for people to understand. You put all this blood, sweat, and tears into something, and you just put it out into the world. Now you kind of just put it out there. I'm trying to remember kind of what you shared on the stage, but I almost expected for it to then launch a whole new level of career and make millions of dollars, and like everything to change, and you're like, oh, I kind of just put it out there, and then I went to my next project and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly how it worked out, really. So I just and it's funny we're talking about, it kind of goes back to purpose. I feel like my purpose was to make the movie, right? Mm-hmm. And I did, and it truly felt like when I was done with it and we had the premiere of the movie, it was like, are you kidding me? This movie is amazing. It's going to change lives. And people were coming up to me and going, after the first premiere, there was a group of women that came up to me and said, look, we watched your movie at the first premiere, and we all decided to break up with our boyfriends because we didn't like them anymore. We wanted to live a better life.
Yes, that's great.
And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And people have, subsequently said, they quit their jobs and they're really, but I always expected it to do well, but the process of distributing the film, it wasn't my skill set. I really didn't understand that is a totally different skill set. It's not that I couldn't learn it, and I did pick up some tricks, mostly from doing the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot because I made shitloads of mistakes. Mm. And were I to do it again, of course, I would make those mistakes. It'd be great. But at some point, quickly after the release of the thing, I had to make some money, and the film was great, and it wasn't bringing in money. It wasn't bringing in a lot of money, mm-hmm. But I needed to get back to work, So really quickly, I went, okay, cool. So that was great. The film's out there. It should take care of itself, and I'll just go back to work. And then like we just talked about, I kind of on the one hand, I did some work here, and then a couple months later, I come back to Finding Joe and hire some person to do some marketing. We did some Facebooking, and it kind of went back and forth like that for a while. And then after a long while, I just kind of went, all right, well, it's out there and it's doing what it's going to do. And that's kind of the end of that. Mm-hmm. And then I, meanwhile, am on to other projects and other things in life. And not to say that it's totally disconnected, but it rarely the marketing rarely comes up because of something I initiated purposefully.
Right. Yeah, because and like for now it to be beginning to, I'm hoping to help be a catalyst for this and start to share it more with my clients. And as I mentioned already to you folks watching, that we're going to give you a great opportunity to watch this movie for free. And I know that you now just shared this exact story just a few months ago with a room full of really heart-centered, amazing entrepreneurs and speakers and authors and all of that. I'm really seeing this kind of almost do like a re-release is what I'm hoping, and that it affects more lives. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. And obviously since we met at Archangel, there's been a lot of support, and it was great to see how the film affected people like yourself, high level entrepreneurs that went, hey, this thing really is affecting lives. And that was more affirmation, like, oh, this is working still. We better do something about it.
Cool. Awesome. So I'm glad to assist in that. Let's share it with the group, shall we?
Awesome.
In celebration, in combination with the rebrand and relaunch of Passion Warrior to now ignite purpose, live your passion. We're going to help you to live your passions, quit doing shit you don't love, and start ignite your purpose, live your passions, and love your life. And I'm so grateful for you, Pat, to be offering this to the group and for you taking the time to do this. It's fantastic. And so I want all of you to be able to watch the movie. For the next 72 hours from this interview going live, we're going to give you a chance to watch the movie for free, to stream it for free. So you'll use the promo code IGNITE PURPOSE. 2 words, IGNITE PURPOSE. And we'll make sure that you have the link in order to be able to do that. And then in addition to that, if Pat's generosity as is wasn't enough, he's going to gift to me and therefore to you watching a handful of the actual DVDs. So if you want your own live copy in your hand that you can watch over and over and over, that you can share with your kids, with your family, with your friends, with your own coaching clients, then we'd love to be able to get this DVD into your hands. And the way that you would do that is share your purpose as your own hero's journey. Like, share with us your hero's journey and how that connects you to what your purpose is, to what you're either living or wanting to be living in the world. And just email that to me with your mailing address so I can send you a copy of the DVD. And of course, you give permission to share that story, because if it's amazing, I want people to hear it, and I want to help share your stories and just have more stories out there. Because a big thing about this is Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey, the work that Pat did, is not only does it connect all of us, but it gives us this new level of permission to share our story, because we recognize the importance of our own individual story, like the power and the importance of like why you are here, and that it's no small insignificant thing. So please be sharing your stories. Please be sharing your voice. Please do things that you feel called and inspired to do. And if you need assistance, then obviously reach out to me or anybody else, any other coach, to really get that going for yourself. But the world needs it, the world needs it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thanks for creating this magic, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. Super, super grateful that you're talking to me and getting it out there.
Yeah, awesome. More to come, I'm sure. Like you said, when you're in San Diego, let's hang out, all right? We'll connect.
Definitely.
All right. Enjoy. Grateful to you, and to all of you. Get on that. Send me your heroes' journeys and click the link below, and you'll get access to watching this amazing movie. We'd love to hear your feedback, and Pat would love for you to enjoy the movie and get your feedback as well. All right, everybody. Ignite your purpose. Later.